So about 5, 6 years ago, I had a project called Learn for Two, and then it just stopped. It wasn't that I didn't believe in it. It was just that life kind of just happened. And even after all this time, what's crazy is that it was the project that I just couldn't let go of.
Life gets a lot more interesting when we pay attention, not just to ourselves, but to the people around us, the conversations, the moments, the lessons hidden inside ordinary life. This is Learn for 2.0.
Hey there, welcome to Learn for 2.0. My name is Brandon Veer, and thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I really do appreciate that. Today, just want to kind of let you know about a reboot that I have going on. Back about 5, 6 years ago, I created a project called Learn for Two. The intent was to learn with the intent to teach others. That was the plan. That's what it was. It was a show that I did, and it was 5 days a week. I committed for 1 year that I would do 5 days a week, not necessarily Monday through Friday, but it was 5 days a week. The challenge was that I'm looking back now on, which was it was kind of beneficial, but also not at the same time. One, it was audio only, and the benefit of that was it made it much easier for me to get done. There wasn't any video, there wasn't anything that I really had to do, and it was easy for me to do day to day. Also, a benefit is that it's not scripted, it's not rehearsed, it's not all this stuff. It is really raw, and it is basically daily ideas of what's going on. And every day I went in thinking that I had to, what am I going to learn today that I can share with somebody else? And that was the idea behind it. It was a lot of fun. I went through all kinds of different things. I recorded from that didn't always take place in a studio or in my office. It was in the Studio B, the car. It was Studio O, the ocean. We went on vacation, and was still committed to getting those done. So I went, and I'd walk and talk into my phone, or bring a mic with me on vacation or a trip back home to visit my family up in Washington State. But I would be able to record kind of anywhere. That was kind of the benefit of the audio. The challenge is I can't make the video really. I mean, I can now, but with a little bit more, advancements and things like that. But it's more difficult for me to take audio and turn it into video than it is for me to take video and to turn it into audio. So I ended up doing over 270 episodes of that. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. It was kind of an online journal as well for me, and that was something that I thought was really important, was the ability to document things that were going on. Again, I thought it was back then. It was the idea. It was a teaching style. Like, I'm going to teach people what I've learned today, and that was kind of was the idea behind it. And I did like that at the time, and I'll explain a little bit more while I'm moving into a different direction. But talk about kind of anything. I also, in the kind of a selfish way for me, is that it's a way that I can document and have a diary of sorts that my kids can listen to, my family members, my loved ones can go back and listen to what I had to say about a certain thing at a certain time. Even more importantly, like for my kids, I want them to be like, oh, dad said this, but then 6 months later he said this, which contradicts that. Which I want them to have permission that, hey, if you have more information on something, you don't have to stick to what you believed in before. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do. I talked about anything from mind, body, business, relationships, all that stuff that I was learning on a daily basis. And I will say that it was the most aware that I've ever been in my life, because every day. So some episodes were not scripted but scheduled. Like, I would record one, or I would record a couple in a row, and that would be like the start of everything. There were some things that happened months ago, or even a year and a half ago, that I would do, but mainly most all of the stories that I was sharing and the episodes that I had were the things that were happening that day. So I'd go through, have a day, and figure out, okay, what am I going to talk about? One of the things, for instance, as far as like a leadership aspect, I won't tell the whole episode, but I'll break it down briefly of kind of the idea of the things behind the structure behind these. Was, my son, he went to from kindergarten to first grade. Kindergarten, when you dropped him off, just on the other side of the fence was the playground. So he was right there. There's just a fence in between me and him where he was playing. Well, first grade, when you go, there's the fence, and there's like 100 yards before they get the the little dot that the kids line up on before they go in the classroom, and then that's where the playground was too. So when he ran all the way over there, it's a big distance. So he went from kindergarten right here to first grade to all the way there. Well, on day one, when I dropped him off, he'd take a step, look back, take another step, look back, take another step, making sure that I was still there. Day two, he took a couple more steps. Day three, couple more. Day 4, a couple more. Day 5, bye dad, love you, and then he's gone. But I, translate that into just like in the role of leadership, where your people that you are leading, they once you're there so often for them, they don't need to see that they're there. They just know that you're there. And those are the kind of lessons that I was pulling out of everyday life, which was a lot of fun, and it made me, again, like I said, become more aware. Now, kind of transition a little bit where I'm coming out with this reboot, because again, this is a lot of fun for me, and I got a lot of favorable feedback from people that would listen to it or even read some of the stories, that were there. But now we're moving into the video age instead of just the audio. So this will be able to be found on, things like Spotify, all that kind of stuff. Mainly I'll be hosting on YouTube where the videos are. There'll be clips and things in other places, but mainly YouTube. But then if you want audio, you can also have access to that too. So that's why I wanted to go with a video approach, because I think it's much better, and I think it connects with people more. So very excited to do that. The other like game changer for me in this in this setup now, is that I'm no longer going in with the intention to teach. Right, it's more observation. It's what I'm learning, and what I'm observing, and what it means to me. Hopefully, I don't want this to become like a lecture, like I'm here to teach you something. Maybe that doesn't mean that you can't learn something from it, but I'm hoping that it will become more of a discussion, where hopefully we can have some healthy discussion. Where I'm getting feedback. If I say something, there's going to be some health things that I want to talk about. There's going to be some youth sports. There's going to be sports things. There's going to be family stuff that I talk about. There's going to be observations at Costco that I talk about, and other things that happen just in ordinary life. And I don't necessarily, I don't think that everyone's going to agree with my version, or my perspective of these things that are happening. But I would hope that we could have a conversation about why these things, especially the health thing. Like, I'm not a doctor at all. I'm not a nutritionalist. I have no degree or anything, any profession in anything health wise. But I'll share some health things that I had been going through for the past couple of years, because there's some things I want people to know about, because it was something that came out of nowhere, for me, that I would have never even thought of. In retrospect, maybe it makes more sense of why it was happening. But without more information, or the information that I didn't have, I couldn't make that distinction on what was going on. But in that kind of scenario, I would love for people to kick out feedback of anything, something else, something similar they went through, or something that can relate to that. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Instead of lecture, more discussion, and that's kind of what I want to move forward towards, and get out here and be able to just have these conversations with people. Off like When I say observational, I'm like trying to be observational humor. Although I love any of my friends that know me, anybody who's close to me knows that I try to make people laugh whenever I can. A lot of my content probably comes off as I'm kind of like stiff and like, oh man, he's so serious all the time, and he's not really like, like lighten up, bro. But no, that's not the case. I love comedy. I love all that stuff. However, I'm not going to be like, what is the deal with Jerry Seinfeld type observational humor stuff. But if something's funny that I observed, then I'm going to share it. So that's where I'm at with that. And really, I've just it's kind of come down to, I think that being aware is has been a lot of fun lately. Being and paying more attention to other things. So, I believe that life is much more fun, when we're aware, and not just of ourselves, and not only for our own purposes, but when we start paying attention to others as well.